Hi, my name's Steve Hayes. I'm with AllSafe Industries, and today I'm here to talk to you about Safety Suite Responder. If you'll recall, we had a webinar back in April of 2022, and we've learned so much about the software as we've worked with our customers to make this transition during this free upgrade period. So in today's video, we're going to talk about installing the software. We're actually going to do a screen recording and show you all the click-throughs to install Safety Suite Responder on your laptop computer. We're going to go through the equipment setup. We're going to turn on an area array. We're going to turn on a RAELink 3 host and show you how to make sure that those things are connected properly. We were then going to go through the Safety Suite Responder program itself and do an overview with the different icons that you can navigate to and the different information that the new software platform will provide. And then finally, we're going to go through some troubleshooting and common issues that we've seen some of our customers run into over the past 3 to 4 months that we've been helping people make this transition. So let's get started. All right, so now we're going to go through a screen recording we captured of actually installing Safety Suite Responder on a computer. So as we mentioned, in the description, we will have a link to the Honeywell webpage where you'll begin. You'll scroll down to the section where you see the download buttons, and then you'll click Download Safety Suite Responder. You'll have a form that you'll need to fill in. And so name, company, address, all those good things. They do have an industry block, and then you'll click Download, and then of course it's going to download the file. You want to watch where that file saves. Looks like it's coming in as a zip file, so you'll have to open up that zip file to get to the .exe file in order to load the software. Once the file has finished, you'll click Open File. You'll see that screen pop up, and then you'll click Open, and then your typical software install screens will pop up. Once you have downloaded and opened up the zip file, you'll get the software install screen. Of course, you get this welcome message, and then the very first thing it's going to do is run a system check. So remember, this is where it's important that your computer already have the requirements preloaded. If you don't have one of the right hardware requirements, the installation stops right here. So you'll want to make sure that in advance you've got the correct Windows, the correct RAM, the correct hard drive, the correct processor, and then the install program will let you proceed through installing the software, and then you'll see that this will take about 10 or 15 minutes to load the program. It's quite a large file and will take a little bit of time. All right, there we go. We have the 5 different segments there, all marked 100%. It's asking us to select our IP address, and then you can continue the install. And then when you get towards the end of the install of the software is when the Safety Suite Responder utility is going to open up. And again, it's very important that these services are running in order to continue this installation process. If you get any Windows security alerts, just okay through those. Again, you've logged in as administrator in order to be able to do everything that you need to do. We do want the Safety Suite Responder utility to be running because we've experienced problems with installing the software if all these services aren't running. So you just want to confirm that. So a little side note, sometimes it takes a few minutes for everything to start running, but the software is in control there. Just wait until everything on the Safety Suite Responder utility window says running, and then it will let you proceed. And then once you get to the end, you'll see that it says Safety Suite Responder 2.4.0 installation completed. So once this is completed, you're going to click on the Request Account button. Again, we want to confirm that the Safety Suite Responder utility has everything running. We've run into issues when that's not running. Once you click Request Account, you can either do a trial account, or if you're ready to load the software because you already have your subscription key, click on I have a subscription, and then it's going to bring up the Create Account screen. So once again, you'll need to fill in all this information. You do want to fill it in properly because this information will be pulled into Safety Suite Responder and pre-populate some of the fields such as your organization and your username and things like that. So bear in mind that what you put in on that particular screen is going to pull into the software. So once you fill in all the fields on this Create Account screen, the Send Request button will turn blue, and then you'll click that, and then the last step will be waiting on the email from Honeywell with your password. And that is how you install Safety Suite Responder on your laptop computer. All right, now that we have the software fully loaded, we are ready to look over Safety Suite Responder. This is going to be a very brief overview. As I say in my live trainings that I do with our first responder customers, I'm going to give you enough to scratch the surface. It will be up to your gas meter guru to dive in and look at all the details that we can get into. So starting off with the dashboard icon. This is very similar to a ProRay Guardian screen, but I can change this. There's this drop down here at the top where I could select Consolidated Dashboard, and you'll see that the windows change up a little bit. I could select Device Dashboard, and once again, you see the windows have changed. This seems more like an industrial view to me. But the real-time dashboard is the one that I like because once again, it looks very similar to ProRay Guardian. I have my map window here at the top. I have my device window here underneath. I have specific data from my sensors for whichever instrument I've clicked down here in the device data window. Each sensor is represented up here in the data graphs. So you can see you would just click through each of these to see a graph of each sensor. And then this window is the one that did change. In Guardian, this was a system information window, and now it's a data log window. So you could literally click on one of these data log files and look at more information there. Each of these screens has a minimize, maximize button. So if I just want to see the map window, I'll click that icon, and now my entire screen becomes the map. You can see that when I switched my view, it brought up this warning screen because I am due for bump on all my sensors. So I apologize for that. I can just click off of that. You can see my meter sitting outside our building right here in Louisville, Kentucky. If I click this button once again, I go back to my dashboard view. And I've got that icon on all 4 windows. I can have each of these take over the entire screen if I like. But the map screen's where we get most of our work done. You have a layer button where you can add and subtract different layers of information that Safety Suite Responder can provide. You can drop in your workers if you'd like. Again, more of an industrial setting, but you can certainly add your connections to the map window if you like. You can use these buttons to zoom in and zoom out. If you move the map and then want to come back to where the instruments are, you'll hit that center button in the middle. And then at the bottom, you've got 2 options down here. If you have non-GPS devices, you can click this button and manually place where you want those instruments to be. And then this is the plume modeling button. Notice that when I mouse over it, it brings up a message that says click and drag to set position. I can click and drag that and drop it anywhere on the map where I want to start my plume modeling. And then I'll get a 5-page wizard is what I call it, where you'll have to fill in all the information. One other detail you can do with the plume modeling, and we're still learning about this, we're not getting into advanced features in this video, but if you drag this plume modeling and you drop it right on top of an instrument, notice how that instrument gets larger. What we think is happening there is then the plume modeling is going to pull the information from the sensors in the instrument versus so much of it coming through the information that you would manually input. Again, not getting into that in this video. We're just trying to keep this as a summary for Safety Suite Responder. This is the dashboard. You've got historical data. So every device that's ever connected and every data file that's ever been logged will be in this table. You can also click over to this playback feature. This is a new feature in Safety Suite Responder. And you can play back a data file to see what happened in real time on screen. So for instance, if you're industrial safety and you have a worker walk into a hot zone and then the instrument goes into alarm, you would be able to pull up that data file, pull it up to playback, hit play, and watch that scenario run right here on your computer under historical data. You also have your asset management screen. So every instrument you ever connect to Safety Suite Responder will be loaded in this screen. You have a device menu, a dock menu, custom fields, all the different models of instruments. Remember that Honeywell owns RAE Systems and BW Technologies, so all the BW instruments are loaded in here as well. And then you have a template menu so that you can create your own. Something else I want to point out about this asset management menu here within Safety Suite Responder is a very important detail, and that is the status of the instruments. So you see this column here, some are marked active DM, device management, and some are marked active real time. It's the ones that are marked active real time, they're going to show up on my real-time dashboard. So if I click into one of these instruments, so here's the AreaRAE Pro that we're communicating with right now. If I click here, I can change the status of this instrument or this asset, and it needs to be one of my active real-time instruments in order to see it on the dashboard. So again, if you're a department or a company that has multiple instruments, maybe you have 8 AreaRAEs, but maybe you have 20 multi-rays and 30 Q-Ray 3s and 10 Toxi-Ray Pros, and you've touched all of those with this software, you want to make sure that the AreaRAEs are the ones marked active real time so that you can see that data on screen. Because you only have so many seats, I just clicked the organization tab, and you can see that our license here has 5 available positions for device management and 5 available for real time. And so you'll want to make sure that you've used the real time on your AreaRAEs and the device management on your other instruments, because if the AreaRAEs aren't marked as real time, then they're not going to show up on this dashboard. So just one more little detail to ensure that the meters that you'd want to see in real time are designated as one of your real-time instruments. You have user management. So you can see me listed here, and you can see my coworker Chase listed here. You could have as many workers loaded in this as you would like under users. You can create teams out of those users, and you can set specific roles for each user, whether they're an administrator, a supervisor, or a worker. This window is very important. This is your gateway window. It ties into the Safety Suite utility window that we saw earlier during the installation. And when I click on the word responder, it brings up all of the details of this specific gateway, including this protocol on how it communicates with our instruments. So you can see the button says stop, which means it's running. We know it's running because we saw the meter on the dashboard. I'm connected to COM port 7. We never change the baud rate. We've got the interval set to every 2 seconds. You can view how many unit IDs it's polling. And then what I really like is this run RAELink test. This will run a test to confirm that you're communicating with the instruments. We already know we are because we saw the AreaRAE on the dashboard, so I'm not going to run it. But if you're having communication difficulty, do this run RAELink test, and it will show you which meters are communicating and which ones aren't. Last two, we have an organization window, and again, this is going to pull right from that software installation. So as you're filling out the fields on that form, make sure you fill them out accurately because it's going to pull that data over into your organization details. And then finally, you have a reports button on the menu. You can store your reports here under this menu, and you can also schedule reports to run automatically. That's another new feature that they've added to Safety Suite. Once you get comfortable with these icons, you can click these little 3 lines at the top of the screen, and it collapses those down to just be icons. And then once you're comfortable with the software, you'll just be able to navigate to the one that you want depending on what you're doing. That is a brief overview of Safety Suite Responder. All right, so the next step in the process is the equipment setup. And so I'm going to go ahead and power up an AreaRAE, power up a RAELink 3 mesh, set up as our host, and then confirm some details. So again, if you're an existing RAE Systems wireless customer, there's probably nothing you need to change here. All your equipment should be set up. It's what I call a one-time setup. Once you've set it, you can forget it. If you're a new customer, then of course you'll want to go through the steps I'm about to show you. So we're going to power up our area array. So push and hold the power button in the middle. You'll see it illuminate, then you can let go, and it's going to run through a self-test. This takes about 90 seconds. I'm going to do the same thing over here on my RAELink 3 mesh. So that's one of the things I've always loved about RAE systems, is if you can operate one, you can operate anything, because same 3-button sequence. So I'm going to push and hold my power button on my RAELink 3, and now I can let go because you see the screen has lit up, and now that's going to run through its warm up as well. The RAELink 3 will get warmed up way faster than the area array. As a side note, I've always said, if you've never watched the screens that you see during the warm-up sequence, I would be familiar with what they are, but once you're comfortable with the area array, you don't have to watch that every time. Okay, so if you have power on 0 turned on in your area array, you'll get this screen, fresh air calibration. If you're in fresh air, I would go ahead and say start. I always like starting off with a fresh air calibration. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and say quit and skip the fresh air calibration, because I want to get right into the information so you can see. So this is your main display screen. Again, if you're a current RAE Systems wireless user, then there's probably nothing that you need to set up. And so the step that you can go to is the last step, which is looking at this icon right here. This antenna icon with the 4 bars next to it, see how it's burning steady? That means it has connected to a host radio. So this area array is now talking with this RAELink 3 because that icon is burning steady. If the antenna icon is flashing, like this GPS icon is, that means it's still searching and it has not connected to anything. So make a mental note that that is a troubleshooting step. You want to make sure the antenna icon burns steady. That means it is communicating. If it's flashing, it means it's still searching for something to talk to. So that's your final step. If you're not a current RAE Systems user, then you're going to navigate to your radio page to confirm what radio you have turned on. So I'm just toggling through the pages by hitting my arrow button. And when you get to this screen, ISM, that's your radio, it tells me it's on right now, so that's good. Do I want to turn it off? No. So I'm going to hit the no button. And then my ISM radio is confirming the current setup details. So I'm on network ID 630, and this is unit 2. We want to make sure that our network IDs are all the same, matched up with our RAELink 3 host radio, but we want our unit IDs to be unique. Each wireless instrument on your network needs to be its own unit ID number. If you're using the same unit ID number, you could have some communication issues. So just make sure that each area array that you're connecting to your system has a unique unit ID number. So let's say that my network ID or my unit ID were not correct. Here's how you would change that. So to get into the RAE Systems menus, you push and hold the power button and the no button at the same time. If you're in advanced mode, you're not going to get a password screen. If you're in basic mode, you will. So if you're in basic mode, you'll need to put in the password, then you'll get to this menu. It's always going to come up on the calibration menu first, because that's what you do most often. So you use your arrow button to toggle around to the wireless menu. Of course, it's the one with the antenna icon down here and the word wireless at the top. I'm going to select that by pushing the Y button. And then it's asking me to either set my primary radio, my location, my mesh, or my ISM. If I need to turn on or set my primary radio, I would select this. And then it's asking me, do I want to be ISM, which means the 900 megahertz radio, which is your RAELink 3, or do I want to communicate through Wi-Fi? Normally we're seeing industrial customers are communicating through Wi-Fi. Our first responder customers are communicating through their ISM radio. So this is set correctly. I'm going to press done. Takes me back to my main menu, and then I'm going to drop down to the ISM radio and select it. I can turn the power on and off. This is where I would change my network ID. This is where I would change my unit ID. And then you also have this first radio mode menu. I'm going to go ahead and drop down to network ID, and then I'm going to select it. And if I needed to change my network ID, this is where I would do that. And so I would just use my up button to change my numbers, use the arrow button to move over to the next character, and then when I have that 3-digit code set the way I want it, I'll hit done, which I'm going to do now. And then the next one is unit ID, same process, hit select, set it to the unit ID that I want it to be, and then hit done. And then if you hit the back button, it takes you back to the main wireless menu. If you hit back again, it takes you to the main menu screen. And if you hit back again, it takes me back to regular run mode. Now we know our area array is set up. Now let's confirm our RAELink 3 host. So it's very small writing here. Let me see if I can get close enough where we can see the screen. So if you look at your RAELink 3 host screen, you can see those tiny words at the bottom that says network ID 630 and it's host. I do want to just show you how I would change that if you needed to. So once again, power button and no button to enter menus. And then there's how you would change your network ID. Right now it says it's 0630, which is what I want. If I wanted to change it, I'd hit the yes button to answer the question change, and then I would just cycle through each of those digits until I have the network ID set to where I want it. Once I've done that, I'll save that change, and then when I get back to this screen, I'll hit no to advance to the next one. And this is where it says operation mode host, and if I wanted to change it, I would press my yes button here, and then this allows me to say, do I want to be a repeater? And I would either say yes or no. I'm going to say no. Do you want to be a remote? Again, I'll answer yes or no. And because I want this one to be a host, I'm going to stay here. Operation mode host, yes. And then it's asking me if I want to change it again, which I don't. So I'm going to hit no, which will take me to the next menu option, which is change the baud rate. You never want to change the baud rate on your RAELink 3. Just leave it at this factory setting of 19200. And if I hit no one more time, there's a modem enter menu. We never use this menu, so there's nothing you'll do here either. And then if you hit no one more time answering that question, you're back to change network ID. Once you have your settings set the way you want, you'll hit the power button here to exit the menus. And then you'll see that you're set to net ID 630 host mode, just like I was in the beginning. Notice that when you're in host mode, GPS is turned off. You don't have GPS turned on while it's a host. If you change the RAELink 3 to be a remote, then the GPS gets turned on again. So now we've confirmed that we have our area array set up properly. We have our RAELink 3 set up properly. The last step will be to plug this into our computer. And then again, if you're familiar with RAE systems, you'll know this story. But for some reason, they still ship the RAELink 3 with a 9-pin RS-232 cable. So this cable, the A10 cable, ATEN cable, is very important because this is what converts this old 9-pin plug to USB. So make sure this silver cable, very important, and sometimes you may need to load a driver for it. Again, we have the driver for this cable loaded in the comment section of this video. So if you need that driver, just scroll down to the comment section and pull it from there. All right, we have our equipment set up. Let's move on to the next point in our outline for this video. Next is you want a dedicated email address for the account, and you want to open that email from the laptop where you're installing the software. When you get through the final steps of installing software, it's going to email you the password, a temporary password, that you'll reset when you log into the software for the first time. But you want to make sure that you're accessing that email account from the computer where you're installing the software. Again, we're only bringing this to your attention because this has been a spot where customers have run into a problem. They might go to their phone and open the email, but that's not going to help you when you're trying to load the software onto a laptop computer. So open the email account that you used to set up the account from the computer where you're loading Safety Suite Responder. Once you get everything up and running, you do want to make sure that the gateway is running. That is found in the system tray of your Windows, the small little red icon. You want to double click that and open up the gateway just to confirm everything is running. Once you've installed this software, that gateway is always on the computer and it's always running. You just want to confirm that it's running. If any of the services have been stopped, you'll run into issues. The easiest way to get that running again, just reboot your computer. I've been saying this for years, never underestimate the power of a reboot. So just reboot your computer, then go back to the Safety Suite utility, which we refer to as the gateway, and just make sure that all the services are marked as running. Finally, you want to make sure that the correct COM port has been assigned when you're in the Safety Suite Responder program. If you're not familiar, you just type Device Manager in the white block down in Windows. When Device Manager comes up, which you see a screenshot there here on this PowerPoint, you'll scroll down to Ports, and you want to select the port that has that magic A10 cable, the silver cable that converts the 9-pin that you get with your RAELink 3 over to USB. And if you need the driver for that cable, we have that loaded down in the description. And then finally, just make sure that your wireless meters are set to active. We want to make sure that of all the instruments that you connect to Safety Suite, even if you're just using the device configurator portion of that, that your area arrays or any of your wireless instruments that you want to see on screen are set to active, because if they're set to inactive, you will never see them in the wireless software. So make sure that the wireless meters that you want to see on screen are set to active. Last slide is frequently asked questions. So we did want to remind you once again that we have several links down in the description. We have a link to the Allsafe Industries frequently asked questions page. So every question we get from a customer, we log on that page and then we have the answer there, so we can be a resource for you as you make this transition to new software. We also have the link to the Honeywell website where you can download Safety Suite Responder initially, because that can be hard to find if you just navigate to honeywell.com. Honeywell's a large company and they have a lot of things going on, so we have a link down there that'll lead you right to the software page. Again, the magic A10 cable could require a cable driver. We've loaded a link for the driver down in the description for you. And then watch our YouTube channel for a future video. We'll dive a little deeper into the plume modeling and data sharing. So watch our channel, and especially if you would subscribe to our channel, like our videos. We feel like these have been informative for our customers. We would appreciate that subscribe and like so that you can be clued in when we put out new information about Safety Suite Responder or any of the other products that we can provide for you. Finally, just want to thank you for your time and attention to watch this video. As I mentioned before, you can reach out to us via email, via our toll-free number, or our website. We're happy to support our first responder customers and our industrial customers. So anything we can do for you related to Safety Suite Responder or any other technical safety equipment, we'd love to be a resource for you and earn your business. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.